Can my work look painterly if I'm not using any brushes? Can I do that with pastels, which is a dry medium? Well, a lot of people are surprised when they find out that my paintings are not oils. I would say yes. It's not so much about using brushes or a liquid medium, but about how we are actually making our marks. Because pastels are usually sticks, they look more like crayons. That's why people have the idea that it's more for linear marks. But the magic actually begins when I turn the pastel stick on its side. That allows me to create those wider marks, more resembling the brush strokes. I can make these painterly marks with softer brands of pastels and even hard pastels, but softer pastels are easier for this technique. And the size of my pastel brush stroke is the length of the pastel stick, the part that is touching the paper. This painterly style is not really about staying within the lines, and I'm just going to indicate the shape very approximately, and basically even for my sketch I'm working on the side of the pastel stick to just show the angles where the surface changing the angle. This is just to try out some colors. That's basically the idea of mixing colors in pastels, just layering different colors on top of each other. This way I can create different color variations. I can make my greens more orange or my yellows more blue or red, and when there's enough pigment accumulated, this surface of the paper will stop showing through. So if I don't want to blend the colors just by blending them physically, I don't have to, because at some point the surface is going to start looking smoother. At this point, I'm not concerned if my marks are staying within the outlines of the pear. I'm going to tidy it up later, create some background, create some harder edges where needed, but right now, I'm more concerned with creating a base of colors for the shadow side of the pear, for the sunlit side. The top right side of the pear is lighter, and that's where the lighter yellow goes, but there's also the reflected light on the bottom. You can see that none of the initial colors stayed the same. That's normal, and I'm still modifying the colors as I go. But sometimes during this process, it's easy to make the colors too light or too dark, so it's always a good idea to compare the reference to what's happening on my paper. So if the color in the shadow is not dark enough, this is a good time to bring that dark into that shadow area again. I'm not really trying to create the exact same colors as in the reference, that's fine. I'm more concerned about the values, meaning how light or how dark the colors are. I should clearly show the difference between the shadow side and the sunlit side of the pear so that it starts looking three-dimensional. And also what's going to help is the highlights. Highlights will really create that illusion of a three-dimensional object. Because a pear has a rounded shape, the transition between the darker side and the lighter side is more gradual. And I also can warm it up a little bit with this kind of rusty brown. And if I work with a lighter touch, even non-sanded paper allows me for a few layers of color. Now let's put some final touches on this pear, give it a stem, and of course, as a three-dimensional object, it's supposed to cast a shadow, so let's do that. Again, this exercise is more about marks and values, so the color of the shadow is just purple. Otherwise, I would definitely add a little bit more green into it. Greenish, brownish color, because the pear definitely casts some of that color into the shadow as well. If you were wondering if this pear is going to stay with those fuzzy edges forever, now it's actually the time when I'm going to take care of it. I can work from the outside of the shape, trimming it up, creating those harder edges if needed. Of course, I could have done it from the inside as well, but there's that nice, beautiful layered color inside, and it's a lot easier to trim that softer edge of the pear And once again, I made the shadow a little bit darker, but I don't forget about that reflected light, because around the edge there's definitely that lighter color. And you can see how the color within the pear became smoother with all those layers. I actually wanted to keep a little bit of that texture so that the pear looks more realistic. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel if you would like to watch more tutorials like this. And here it is, the painterly pear.